Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to another Meet the Opposition. This week we sit down with Richard from the Villa Park podcast to build up to this Sunday's game at Portman Road between Ipswich Town and Aston Villa. Before we get into the show, like and subscribe, and don't forget we are partnered with Match Bingo. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. £2 a bingo card. Bingo's on there as well. Download the app however you normally download your apps, through the Google Store, App Store, etc. And don't forget, each time you play, you do support the crucial work of the East Anglian Air Ambulance. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes, over 18s only, be gamble aware. Right, into the show. So I asked Richard to start off with how things are going at Villa. It's all going well at the moment, but just what is the current feeling among the fans in regards to both the start domestically and, of course, in Europe?
I mean, to be honest, it's absolute dreamland for Aston Villa fans at the moment. There might have been a little bit of apprehension, excitement, trepidation going into the season. And I think Aston Villa fans maybe would have liked to have seen one or two extra signings. Obviously, with losing Douglas Luiz and Moussa Diaby, but the additions of Onana and one or two other players, the emergence of John Duran, Yuri Tielemans playing fantastically well. I don't think we could have asked for a better start to the season. Winning in the Champions League, sitting third in the Premier League, only losing to Arsenal. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a great start. Obviously, you've got Bayern coming up midweek, only a few days after you play Town. You mentioned the window there. Where else perhaps would you have liked to have seen Villa strengthen?
I think maybe another centre half, because we've got Ezri Konsa, we've got Pau Torres. There was a bit of uncertainty with Diego Carlos. Tyrone Mings is on his way back, which is fantastic for the club. But there's always a little bit of doubt as to, is he going to be the same player? And to compete on all those different fronts is quite a difficult feat. So I think maybe a centre back. Now Carlos has stayed, maybe that's kind of dropped that off the priority list a little bit. And then also the striker area. Ollie Watkins, we know how good he is and we know how durable he is, but he was a little bit off it coming into the season for understandable reasons. We didn't know what the situation was with John Duran. So now he's stayed and he's scoring every week. It's a little bit more easy to cope with. But I still even think with that, I still think maybe another striker would have been ideal. But you know, you can't have everything, can you? That's the thing.
Yeah. And as fans, we always want everything. And at the moment, you're in dreamland, as you said at the start of the show, and you are almost getting everything as Villa fans. You've got, as I've said, Bayern midweek. Now I've got this feeling coming into the game now. It's just literally clutching at straws, Richard, right? I'm clutching, but I've got this hope, this feeling that maybe Villa are looking past Ipswich a little bit, and big home tie against Bayern Munich, one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Could that happen? Could that be something that comes to fruition?
It's difficult to say yes with having Unai Emery in charge. Like, he's very much a manager who will go into every single detail about every single opposition and won't really let the players rest on their laurels. However, it would be very difficult as a player not to see that game in the not too distant future and think, do you know what, that is a huge, huge game. But I think the last couple of games have demonstrated that even if Villa aren't at their best, for a period of the game, whether that be, the first half or even the first 60, 70 minutes, which was the case against Wolves, they've got quality to come off the bench. They've got big game players who can come up with something out of nowhere, or, that they'll keep playing the same way and eventually something will pay off. And then once that happens, that momentum has carried them through. Now, I'm not saying that they should, go a goal behind or 2 goals behind and then start to play, but they have got that in their locker, which will make it difficult for any team, let alone Ipswich or any other team in the Premier League.
Yeah, and it's been a great start. You've come into the game off the back of a victory over Wolves and a series of victories. You mentioned Unai Emery there. What's the style of play under Unai Emery?
Well, he plays the high line very often with the defensive line. He likes to play through midfield, so you'll see lots of passes like across the defence and then probing passes into midfield, into the likes of Yuri Tielemans, Amadou Onana, and then they like to try and get the ball sort of on the half turn and get the ball into the likes of Jacob Ramsey, Morgan Rogers, who then will run and they'll get territory and then try and maybe slot a player like Leon Bailey on the right-hand side, or we attack with our fullback down the left a lot, and we attack with a winger on the right. So it's kind of a little bit lopsided because he likes to have the extra man in that kind of midfield area. And then, you're looking at Ollie Watkins to finish those moves off. So lots of sort of probing passes through the middle, and then play out wide to a Luca Dean or an Ian Matson or a Leon Bailey to hopefully get them one-on-one. But it's quite methodical to start with, and then it'll burst into life with some quick play. But it's proved really good because we've scored lots of goals. We don't keep clean sheets, which is something that you might take encouragement from, but it's certainly exciting for Villa fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you talked about Ollie Watkins, and you can't really do anything to do with football or Aston Villa, of course, without talking about Ollie Watkins after the season he had, the summer he had. The whole nation, which saw what he did at the European Championships, and it uplifted everybody and gave us all that hope going in to the final. And he started the season, and now he's back scoring. Richard, he's a very dangerous player. Just how will he look, to hurt Ipswich on Sunday? What sort of player can Town fans expect to see?
He's just such a good all-rounder. That's the thing I like about Ollie Watkins. He's not amazing at one particular thing. He's just very good at everything. So he's got the ability to hold the ball up now, which was one of his real weaker areas. He can beat a man. He can finish with his right and left. He can head the ball. The last couple of weeks he's had a couple of chances and scored a couple of goals where he's really stayed in the air for a long time, which is something that he's added to his game. And he'll keep doing it. That's the thing about him as well. He will chase down defenders. He will move into the spaces. He will keep getting in the box, even if he misses the odd chance that obviously we know strikers do, but he'll just keep doing it. I just think you'll see hopefully from a Villa perspective, a really good performance from a really good all-round striker. And he's even sometimes when he's not necessarily in the game, I think Unai's really taught him to kind of keep sharp and keep within the lines of the 18-yard box, because that's where he's going to do his dangerous work. A lot of the time previously he would run all over the pitch, and then when it came down to finishing the chance, he might be shattered. Whereas now he's kind of minimized his movements and maximized his output, which is brilliant for him.
Yeah, he's a really good striker. Relentless is a word I'd associate with him. Just relentless in his press, relentless in everything he does, and it really comes through into his game as well. And it's as a Town perspective, it's quite disheartening to hear that he doesn't drop off at all, as you've just said there. He's continuously relentless, and that's quite disheartening sitting here on a Wednesday.
Well, like his goal, the goal we scored on Saturday against Wolves, right at the end. He's the one chasing down to force the defender into a mistake. Morgan Rogers is doing the same thing. So, that comes from him. That comes from the manager as well. Most of the time you might think 94th minute, 2-1 up, let's just conserve energy. But Watkins is certainly not that player. And now he's got that. Like, he scored 2 against Everton and he was disappointed that he didn't get 3 or 4. And he's developed that kind of elite mindset that is, it's not enough to get 1 goal. It's not enough to get 2 goals. I need to finish every chance that I get.
Yeah, so he's a hungry player, but of course it is a team game, and the season's very much in its infancy. I understand that, but you've got 3 players that currently, lead the assist chart with 2, and you mentioned Yuri Tielemans there. Who is the prime creator, if there is one, for Villa, or is it very much a team that has multiple creators?
Well, certainly he's stepped up this season, and we thought we'd really, really miss Douglas Luiz, he being probably at this stage of the season, sort of the first half of last season, he was Villa's best player. So it was big shoes to fill with Yuri Tielemans coming in as the main player. We saw flashes of it last season, but he's been absolutely incredible so far this season. I'll go so far as to say he's the best midfielder in the Premier League at the moment. He's absolutely fantastic. But he's got assists. Morgan Rogers just just really stepped up the last game. The performances were there, the danger was there, but he wasn't necessarily finishing off the moves, which he's starting to do now. He's another player who's burst onto the scene. And then it will probably be Leon Bailey, but he's had a little bit of a kind of stop-start to his time at Villa this season. But I mean, for times last season, he was unplayable as well. So it's generally a team. And I forget Ollie Watkins. I mean, he got sort of, was it 19 goals and 15 assists or something stupid last season?
Yeah.
So he's another player who can create as well as score as well. So yeah, there's lots. It's so strange now as an Aston Villa fan to see that we have so many players who can contribute with goals. You know, previous managers we've had, it's been one player, you know, Jack Grealish, the obvious one. It's basically just give the ball to Jack Grealish and see what happens. Whereas now we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different players who can create and score in equal measure.
Right, half time. Dig the content, hit the like button, and of course, subscribe. And don't forget, we are partnered with SolarWise Roofing and Building. Be wise this autumn. Get your roof checked. Get your property looked at. Get all those little odds and sods, all the jobs you've been building up, putting off, looked at by Shane from SolarWise Roofing and Building. Give Shane a call. They cover the whole of East Anglia on 01206 628 544. That's 01206 628 544. Or check out the website, solarwiseroofingendbuilding.co.uk. Right. Back to the podcast. You mentioned it. You know, it's strange as a Villa fan to have that multiple areas where you're really good, and obviously you're a club that did drop into the championships. You never dropped into the championship, but you did, and since then you've gone on this meteoric rise. And as town fans, we can always recognise it. Not quite to the same levels, obviously, but we ourselves are in dreamland. You know, we've gone from League One to the Premier League, back-to-back promotions. We've seen some absolute quality over the last couple of years that for decades it just wasn't possible. But from the outside looking in, what is the Aston Villa perspective on Ipswich heading into the game?
I think it's refreshing. You know, I think it's really, really good that they've, like you said, you know, there's this meteoric rise, and it's something that it just shows what momentum and having the right man at the helm, the manager, and getting that right mindset inside a club can do. You know, like you say, Aston Villa had a situation where Dean Smith kind of took us through the championship and just caught it at the right time with Grealish and the kind of story of being Villa fans. Then it dropped off for him, unfortunately. Then we got it wrong with Steven Gerrard. And then it's felt like Unai Emery was the right man at the right time and the right club for him. And it's continued from there. And you look at McKenna with you guys, and it's been pretty much the same thing. You know, the right man at the right time, getting the right type of players in, creating that mindset and that culture. And that can take you a long way because you get more out of the players that you've got. And then anyone who comes in, you know, has to immediately buy into that. So I think it's a really good story. And I don't think I had you guys to in our predictions. I think I had your team to be safe. You know, I think some of that momentum can carry you through this season, and particularly home games, you can make it really difficult for teams to, you know, to compete with you and can get some really good results. Obviously, you want to get off the mark. You want to get, you know, that momentum going as quickly as possible when the season starts. So, you know, you want to try and get that win off the board as soon as possible. But I know I think you guys have got a really good opportunity this season, and haven't seen too much of you this season, but certainly last season, you know, some of the goals you guys scored was incredible. That one, forgive me the name of the player, but the outside of the foot curler last season. Yeah, Wes Burns, that goal was incredible. So to have a team with the confidence and the ability to do that, you know, shows that there's a lot that your guys have got a lot to, you know, are capable of achieving a lot, and can scare some teams this season, definitely.
Having been an Aston Villa fan, you know, seen the Premier League in recent years, where you know, where coming in, where now do you see Town really realistically finishing? Because obviously I do this every week, and a lot of fans say bottom three, you know, it's going to be a real struggle. Some of the Town fan base at the start of the season was feeling optimistic of a mid-table finish, but you've seen it week in, week out. You've lived it week in, week out. Where do you see sort of Town realistically this year?
Aston Villa in that lockdown season, the first season we came up, Dean Smith was like, we are going to carry on playing the way we did in the Championship, and we're going to take it to every team. And you soon get a rude awakening, unfortunately, because you play well in games. You play so well in games, but you lose 3-2, you lose 2-1. You know, the level of finishing, the clinical ability of the teams in the Premier League are completely different to the Championship. So there has to be an element of changing the way that you play to cope with that. If you guys can make it difficult for teams, particularly at home, and pick up results, then finishing 17th, 16th is absolutely fine. You just have to stay up by hook or by crook. And the quicker that teams that have come up find that out and do it and adopt their style just a little bit to cope with that, the better chance that they'll have of surviving. Burnley didn't do it last season, went down. Yeah. Southampton looked like he's not listening. They're probably going to go down. So if you guys can listen and understand how the Premier League works, you'll get more out of it, because Villa were in a situation where they had 4 games to go, and then we had 27 points, and we managed to stay up on 35 points. We picked up 8 points from the last 4 games and stayed up on the last game of the season, finishing in 17th position, and now look where we are. So it's literally just about staying up. That's it.
Absolutely. Yep. So I've got some quick fire questions from our Discord chat. So I've got Kevin, who asks, Philogene hasn't appeared in recent weeks, not even on the bench. Is he injured or simply not being selected?
No, he's injured. He came on against West Ham in the first game of the season, and then he had a little bit of a knock, I think either after that game or maybe after the Arsenal game. Then he appeared again against Everton, got a kick, and I think he's had a bit of a setback to his recovery. So he would have played last night against Wickham, but I think he's still recovering from injury. Interesting, because he was a player that you guys, had agreed to sign and all that, and Villa came back in. But I think Emery rates him and sees him as kind of that understudy to Leon Bailey. But unfortunately, we haven't seen too much of him this season, just due to having 1 or 2 little niggling injuries.
We've got Rob, who asks, on the theme of injuries, are you pleased to see Buendia coming back from his long-term injury, and do you see him forcing a place in the starting 11?
Yeah. I mean, it's brilliant. He's had 16 months out trying to get back fit, and see him last night scoring in the EFL Cup was fantastic, and just brilliant for him. I do see him challenging. He's come on in the last couple of games. Where he plays is difficult to say, because you've got Morgan Rogers, Jacob Ramsey, and Emi Buendia kind of in that sort of attacking, and maybe even Yuri Tielemans once Boubacar Kamara comes back, in that sort of attacking midfield area. But he does bring a different energy to Villa at times. So yeah, I think he will compete, and it's great to see him back.
Obviously, next Norwich City player, so I'm sure Town fans
Yes.
might be, looking forward to him coming onto the field if he does on Sunday.
Yeah, he probably will make an appearance. He probably will.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Lewis asks, is Duran the perennial impact sub, or do Villa fans see him being the long-term starter over Watkins?
He's knocking on the door. I mean, the goals that he's scoring are incredible. He didn't have the best of games yesterday against Wickham, but he scored, and it's difficult when it was basically a reserved side. I think Unai Emery is looking at ways to play the two of them together, and if in certain games that would work. I don't see him replacing Ollie Watkins, because Watkins brings too much to the team, other than the goals. But yeah, as long as we can keep him happy with enough minutes, I think there's a hell of a player. But I think it's most likely, the way he's going at the moment, you kind of have to start him, and I think it has to be Watkins and Duran together.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Last 2 questions, Richard. I really do appreciate
your
time.
It's fine.
And don't forget Villa Park podcast. Go and check it out wherever you get your podcasts from. Jackson in our Discord asks, are Villa fans expecting an easy 3 points this Sunday?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not an easy 3 points. I am expecting 3 points, I have to say, but certainly not easy. I don't think any game in the Premier League is easy. And, you guys put up a good fight against Liverpool. You've played very well across numerous games this season so far, and I do feel like you're warming into the Premier League a bit more. So no, absolutely not. I don't think it'll be easy. I just think it depends on how you guys approach the game, or see how how it pans out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget, if you are a member, a YouTube member, you can ask questions on our Discord for future Meet the Opposition. Check your YouTube community tab out for that. Richard, you mentioned you're expecting 3 points. I'm going to finish asking you for a score prediction. And while you give your score prediction, also let the people at home know where they can find the Villa Park podcast.
Yeah, sure. We're on YouTube at Villa Park Podcast and on social media at Villa Park Pod. So yeah, we'll be doing an opposite, and we call it In the Away End. So we'll be doing that with you guys later on this week as well. So make sure you check that out. And yeah, check out our shows. We'll be doing a full match preview with the lads on Friday, and then we do instant match reactions and full match reactions after that as well, and plenty more in between. So yeah, we're on the road to 5,000 subs. So you could really help us out by checking us out and subscribing.
Excellent. And your score prediction for Sunday?
I think it'll be 2-1. I think it'll be a tight game. I think it'll be a close one. You know, we beat Leicester 2-1. That was a difficult game. And we don't keep clean sheets. But I just think we'll have either a little bit too much in terms of, you know, goal scoring ability to start with, or if you're struggling with that, I think we've got enough off the bench to cause, you know, real problems, as happened on Saturday against Wolves. I mean, we've never had a situation where we could bring on the likes of Leon Bailey, Ross Barkley, Ian Matson, Emi Buendia, John Duran. It's crazy to think of the quality that we can bring off the bench. So I just think we'll just have a little bit too much for you, but it'll be a tough game nonetheless.
Yeah, many fans will expect the same. And I think 2-1 will probably be a very popular scoreline when we do our match preview on Friday. You've got me joining you for in the away end, and I'm looking forward to it because I'm the host of the platform, and not many people hear my thoughts because obviously I'm the host. I'm the one asking questions. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and having the chance to actually put forward what I think and feel. And finally, just because it's come to me as I'm listening to your talk, what's one underrated thing about Aston Villa under Unai Emery that fans should know heading into the game?
Oh, that's a good question. An underrated thing. I just think, I mean, like I said, we don't necessarily keep clean sheets, but I think it's probably the fact that we go under the radar with regards to the quality that we have. We're starting to get that recognition, but you know, everything is about the big six, and you'll see that in the Premier League a lot. But now, you know, Aston Villa are, you know, people are saying and it's a difficult one because as Villa supporters, you kind of want the credit, but then you kind of want to go under the radar as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes it frustrates you that, you know, Unai Emery doesn't get talked about in the same bracket as the likes of the top managers, or Aston Villa don't get talked about in the same light as, say, a Tottenham would or a Chelsea would. But we just keep picking up results, and we just keep, you know, we keep staying in there. So lots of people said, oh, how would we cope with the Champions League and the Premier League? But we're seeming to do it right now. So I just think it's the way that we kind of keep picking up results and, you know, still almost stay under that radar and not necessarily getting the credit that maybe we deserve.
And there we go. What an absolutely fascinating listen. Thank you to Richard from the Villa Park podcast. And don't forget, we are partnered with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Don't live life in pain. Trust me, as someone sitting here today with a bad back, don't live life in pain. Give Freddie a call. He is the governor at Stowmarket Osteopaths on 01449 613 633. Don't live life in pain. Tell him the Gov from Talking Town sent you. And don't forget, we are live again Friday, 8 p.m. for our match preview build-up. Enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and catch us on all social media: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, now called X. And if you are a member, you have access to our Discord 24/7 365 ITFC chat. And if you're not a member, why not? $4.99, cancel at any point. But yeah, we're done for the day. Thank you to Richard from the Villa Park podcast. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all Friday, 8 p.m. Bye-bye.